what on earth have you been doing in Ghana that would cost you over 73,000 cedis? Breadline, you go back to wherever you're from and, you know, you're basically now eating toast every day for dinner because you really couldn't afford what you spent. Get it cheaper somewhere else. Yes, in life, in anything you do, there's going to be somewhere you can get it cheaper. I'm not doing that for 30 days. Like, what kind of lifestyle am I living that I need to like spend that? Like, no, I'll eat toast. When the sun is out, a lot of us, we lose our brains. Honestly speaking, we do. Because hey guys, welcome back. Okay, today's video, I want us to talk about a video that I came across on social media. I was just randomly scrolling and I came across this video and I was like, what? It really took me by surprise, right? Okay, so you know we talk about the cost of living in Ghana. We talk about it all the time, you know. Everybody's sort of done that video where they've spoken about how expensive Ghana can potentially be or how cheap Ghana can potentially be, you know. Everybody kind of has their opinions on what that's like, right? Myself included, I've done videos where I've spoken about the cost of living. Now, the reason that this video made me stop was because after hearing the first few sentences that the lady said, I was like, what? So before I even go into that, I want you guys to watch this video with me because honestly speaking, when I first heard it, I was horrified. But then as she began to break down how she got there, I was like, I can kind of see how it happened. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on for you guys to watch with me. Let's go.
30 days in Ghana cost me 73,467 Ghana cedis, which is just over 6,100 USD. That's not an estimate. I'm very type A when it comes to my spending, my money, so I track it all. Housing was my biggest expense. In total, it was a little bit over 30,000 cedis, which is about 3K USD. It comes with a housekeeper and a caretaker. Out of the beach Airbnb, that was about 625 because balance. Normally I travel once a month in America and I pay over $1,000. Transportation was about 322 USD and almost 3,200 Ghana cedis. My driver said he had a car I can rent, but why would I do that if he can just drive me around? When I went to Kumasi, flights for me and Regina were 3,400 cedis, about $283, and the hotel was about 9,600 cedis. That's $800. Chef was 2,100 cedis, about $175. Eating out was 3,600 cedis, about $300. I could cook every day, but I don't want to. Regina's salary was 1,800 cedis. That's about $150. Maintenance cost was about 1,400 cedis, and that is, I paid $117 for manis and patties for me and Regina, and 300 cedis for my wax, which was about $25. Experiences was about 700 cedis, which is about $58. My videographer was 2,000 cedis, about $167, and I'm not just living here, I'm building. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna pay for things to make my life easier. So all in all, 73,467 Ghana cedis, just over 6,100K in 30 days.
Well, I'm sure we all have our opinions about this video. Okay, so like I said, at the beginning, I was shocked because the number that I heard, I was like, 73,467 cedis in 30 days. I was like, in my head, I was like, what on earth have you been doing in Ghana that would cost you over 73,000 cedis? Okay, just for context, for those of you that don't understand the cedi fully yet, right? So according to her estimation, that was 6,100 USD, okay? I don't know when this video was actually shot, when she did her budget, but right now, when I put 73,467 into the computer, it comes out as $6,750, which is a hell of a lot of money for 1 month. And so I took a closer look at the video and I watched her sort of break down how she ended up spending so much money. And honestly speaking, I can see how it has happened. Now, one of the things about Ghana is, you know, you can live Ghana any way you want. It's entirely up to you. You can live a very budgeted life, or you can live a very extravagant life and do everything to the fullest, right? And just completely enjoy yourself. I get it. But I was really interested to see, because I was so sure that, you know, there was going to be loads of things that I could pinpoint out of her budget and say, oh, that's too much, that's too much, that's too much. But honestly speaking, as she began to break it down, it kind of made sense to me. Now, I haven't written down every expense that she spoke about, but I've written down some of them, right? So she said that she rented a place which was 30,000 cedis, which was at the time about $3,000, right, for the month. I can see that that happens, because when it comes to getting an Airbnb or something like that, you're not going to pay the same price as you would if you were staying in a regular house that you've rented for a whole year, okay? Airbnb is very, very different to that, okay? So you can't expect the cost to be the same. So paying $3,000 a month for an Airbnb, I know it sounds a lot. It's not crazy, and also it depends on where it was. Now, there are some places that are going to be, when it comes to Airbnb, there's some places that are going to be very affordable. You know, if you don't mind traveling, you don't mind not being in the center, you can get very, very good, cheap Airbnbs, definitely, you know. As I speak about this, I'm just remembering. So I had an email conversation with someone recently, and they were inquiring about the cost of my Airbnb, and I told them the price. And then they eventually came back and were like, well, I can get something for like 300, was it £300 for the whole month or something like that? And I was like, okay, that's cool. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's budget is different. I'm not saying that no, but that's how much it is. And like, I don't feel like I have to fight somebody about my Airbnb, right? The price is the price. You could afford it, you can't afford it, you want it, you don't want it. Like, it doesn't matter, okay? It's a place to stay is worth whatever it means to somebody, okay? To some people, they'll be like, okay, that's worth it, that's a deal. Some people, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Location is going to be one of the major factors. Anyway, just, you know, my Airbnb, I think, is very, very, in fact, I know my Airbnb is very, very reasonably priced for where its location is. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit there. So anyway, she spent $3,000 on an Airbnb for 30 days. It's not outrageous. There are some Airbnbs which are very, very expensive. I know Airbnbs which are like $200 a night, just because sometimes they're in, you know, one of these complex apartment places. So they have all the amenities there. They'll have a swimming pool on site. They'll have a shop. They'll have a pharmacy. They'll have all these amazing things. They may have a cinema. Do you know what I'm saying? They have all these things. So you're not just paying for the apartment, you're paying for the experience. So I can understand how the price can be $3,000 a month. And let's be honest, there are some houses that you rent for the year that are also $3,000 a month. Let's not get it twisted, because, you know, I do property as well, and those properties are definitely out there. If you can afford it, hey, it's up to you. Anyway, so taking out 30,000 cedis from the 73,000 that she initially said, now that's about half of the budget, right? So you're kind of seeing quickly how she managed to get to that figure. Because that will take up quite a huge amount of that. Okay, then she said transport. So originally she was going to hire a car, but then someone came along and said, hey, why bother hiring a car when you can use me and I'll take you up and down and do whatever. Makes sense, right? I mean, that's fine. She said that came to 32,000. Boy. Oh no, I've written my numbers down wrong. Okay, so that was 3,200 cedis, right? So $322. That's what you pay for transport. I can see that, especially if it was for the 30 days. Transport is expensive, and I don't know if that cost was including putting fuel into the car or not. She didn't specify, but I mean, it was a short reel, so she's not going to have broken down all her costs and how she got there. But yeah, so I can understand that. You know, she also got a chef, which was 2,100 cedis, which I guess is about just over $200, right, for a private chef. For 30 days. It's not outrageous. I mean, especially if he was a good chef. I'm not being funny. Like, if you can afford a good chef, and I'm not talking about a house help that cooks for you, but a proper chef that is going to like make dishes that are going to be different experiences for you. You know, things that are generally more outside the box. Then yes, you're gonna pay for that. So yeah, $200. That's not bad. Now, I don't know if that was for the full amount of time. I feel like it wasn't. In fact, it wasn't, because she did later say that, you know, she can cook, but she doesn't want to cook every day. So I get that. I don't want to cook every day. Like, please, if someone could take that burden off me, take that burden off me. Like, I can cook, but if I could use that time for something else. I'd prefer to use that time for something else, if you get me. I want to cook when I feel like cooking, not because I have to necessarily cook, but not everybody has that same mindset. So I can understand where she's coming from. So hey, I'm not tripping about that. And then, you know, she had someone who was her assistant, and the salary was $1,800, which is not bad. Some people may say it's a little bit on the high side. I personally think it's a little bit on the high side, but depending on what you want, depending on the person's skill set, how many things they're doing for you, and all of that good stuff. So 1,800 cedis, which is about $180, I guess, using the kind of numbers that she had. Then yeah, that's probably about it. So anyway, she goes down and she breaks down lots of other costs. Like I said, I didn't write down everything because I just felt like it's unnecessary. But it's just so interesting to see how your expenses can build up so quickly. For me, I just believe that, well, if you can afford something, why not? If you can make your life easier, why not? Like, for me, it doesn't make sense to spend $6,000 or over $6,000 when afterwards, now you're going to be in the breadline. You go back to wherever you're from, and you know, you're basically now eating toast every day for dinner because you really couldn't afford what you spent. But if you can comfortably spend that, then hey, I'm not mad at it. Spend what you want to make yourself happy. You know, she sounded like she had a good time. She flew to Kumasi. You know, she had to rent over there. I think that the place that she rented in Kumasi was $800. Again, someone's going to say, $800? How long were you in Kumasi for? Because Kumasi, you know, is going to be relatively cheaper than even being in Accra. So, you know, again, these things are going to take your budget up. It does cost money. It costs money to move around. It costs money to have experiences in Ghana. So if you want to have all that, you've got to be prepared to have the budget that's going to back that. Because if not, you're not going anywhere. Now, one of the things I did find interesting, so I'm just checking this. Okay. Yeah. One of the things that I did find interesting that she said in the video was that, you know, she's there and she's building. So when she said that, that did throw me a little bit of a curveball, because I was like, hold on, does that, you're living here, you spend $6,000. Like, is that your budget every month if you're living here, or you're going back and forth? But anyway, I don't know. So I can't speculate on that. But that just kind of threw me a little bit there. But yeah, Ghana can be as expensive or as cheap as you want it to be. You know, you can do things on a budget. You know, some will say, well, you could have found a cheaper Airbnb. Yes, you could have. You didn't have to spend $300 on, I don't know, manicure, pedicure, all of that good stuff. But, you know, sometimes we do these things, they make us feel good. There's always going to be somewhere cheaper. That's one thing about Ghana. Even when it comes to buying lands, I mean, I don't want to digress from this video too much, but sometimes it really cheeses me off when, you know, someone does a video on real estate, me, and then people are like, well, that's really expensive. You could get it cheaper somewhere else. Yes, in life, in anything you do, there's going to be somewhere you can get it cheaper. But are you going to get the same benefits? Not necessarily. Are you going to get the same promises? Not necessarily. So saying something is cheaper is relative. If you can't afford something, then say, I can't afford it. That's a different thing. We all understand it. There's things, you know, I can't afford. I can't afford it. Like, there's no shame in that game to say, I can't afford something at this present moment. But for people to come and start saying, oh, it's a rip-off, I can get it cheaper. But it doesn't work like that, because you're comparing apples to oranges. They're not the same thing, okay? So yes, she may have spent $300 on getting her nails done and whatever. And for me, I'll be like, I'm not spending that. You know what I'm saying? I want to find somewhere that's going to be cheaper than that. But for her, it was worth it. Maybe there's other benefits in what she did, the experience and all of that good stuff. I don't know. Me personally, you're not going to catch me spending that, because when I first heard the 73,000, I was like, I'm sure I could find a small car that wouldn't be far from that price. I'm not doing that for 30 days. Like, what kind of lifestyle am I living that I need to, like, spend that? Like, no, I'll eat toast. Like, I'm not about to do that, you know. But as I said, as she breaks down the cost, I get it. If you can afford it, do it. If you can't afford it, don't pretend and live a lifestyle that you know you can't live. A lifestyle that your life back in the West can't even support. Like, you have to live within your means. That's one of the deceptions about Ghana, right? When you come to Ghana, when the sun is out, a lot of us, we lose our brains, honestly speaking. We do, because, you know, we just think, like, you know, we're on some all-inclusive holiday somewhere, and then we start spending. I'm buying ice cream, I'm buying pizza. Every day you want to eat at Movenpick. You want to swim somewhere else. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do that. And then before we know it, you look at your money, and your money is finito, it's gone. There is a deception that happens when you come to Ghana where you feel like, you know, you have $100, you change it and it's like it's 1,000 cedis. Like, I got 1,000 cedis in my pocket, you know, and that sounds amazing because a lot of people don't walk around with 1,000 cedis in their pocket just like that. But that 1,000 cedis, you can spend it in a day, in half a day, if you're not careful. It happens all the time. And for me personally, I'm just going to say this. I don't like cedis because to me, it's like water. It's like you put it in your hands. It's like it runs out and you're like, the water that I was carrying, like, where's it gone? Like, you don't see that you're spending the money. So for me personally, I don't like dealing with the city like that because I can never get a grip on it. And I've heard similar things from other people where it's so hard to keep track of how you're spending cedis. It makes it very, very difficult. So for me, one of the hacks I do is I barely ever carry cedi cash on me because I can't track what's happened to it. Whereas if I'm using a bank card or I'm using Momo or something like that, it's easier for me to see, okay, this is where I spent the money. I can kind of get a better gauge for what I'm spending during my day rather than having cash and I'm like, where's the money gone? Like, I know the same thing can happen in the West, but I feel like in the West, you're a lot more vigilant about what it is that you're doing with money. Like, I can't really think of times where, you know, I've been in the UK and I've spent £100 in a day and not know what I've spent it on. Like, that's not going to happen. Maybe £10, maybe. I don't know what I did with the £10 I had in my pocket, but £100, that's not going to happen. That's like 1,000 cedis. Like, that's more than 1,000. £100 is more than 1,000 cedis. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's harder to keep track of spending in Ghana. Especially in Ghana, there are so many things that you can potentially spend your money on to make your life more comfortable. And there's things that happen. I was even saying to my partner today, like, oh my gosh, I've just spent so much money. I'm not even in Ghana. Like, how am I spending this money? Like, it was just like mishap after mishap, things happening. My water went off. I had to pay someone to come put the meter back on for me. Like, then, you know, he charged me a fee to come and do it. Like there was just so many things. It was like, I just felt like I was bleeding money. And I was like, no, this has to stop. Now I have to pump the brakes here. Like, no, we're not doing this. Like, we have to stop. And it's like things that can happen. You have days like that in Ghana where it's like, you feel like you're continuously spending money. Like, how is this happening? Before you know it, your money's just gone. You don't understand what's happened to it. So don't let Ghana deceive you where people are saying, oh, living in Ghana is cheap. It can be cheap, but you're going to have days where it's going to be hella expensive too. There are things that you're going to have to do, maintenance costs, whatever it is, things that you don't foresee that are going to pop up that you're going to have to deal with. And so don't let anyone fool you to say, oh, Ghana is cheap. It can be cheap, but it can also be very expensive very, very, very quickly. So you have to be prepared for all of that. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on this video because I thought it was a very interesting one. That number, 73, I don't think I'll ever forget that number. 73,000 cedis in 30 days. Like, dang. Ooh, it couldn't be me. But anyway, to each their own. I'd love to hear what you think about the video. What are your thoughts on her budget, how she spent the money? Do you think it was worth it? Do you think it was like over the top? Just let me know your thoughts in the comment section, but that's it. But anyway, if you would like to do a one-to-one consultation with me about moving to Ghana, you can send me an email to dela@moretodela.com. Also, if you would like to rent out my one-bedroom apartments, I have two of them, 2 one-bedroom apartments. If you're interested in renting either of those out for long-term or short-term stay, you can drop me an email to the same email address. Also, my Fafa by Dela products are still up for sale. What was I going to say? I just really lost my trail of thought. Yeah, so you can purchase those. You can send me an email or I will put the link into the description box so you can purchase your whipped shea butter. It's absolutely amazing. That's what I use on my skin. So for those of you that are always like, what do you use? What do you use? That is what I use, okay? I use my own whipped shea butter. I've been making it for a number of years. That's all I've ever used. But anyway, that's a story for a different time. But anyhow, that's the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Nutifafa.